Hi everyone. I wanted to talk to you guys for a minute about citations and proper writing. I know a lot of you are just first time venturing into this scholarly type of writing, academic style. We're used to the high school models, the MLA, to where it has a lot more freedom and our ideas are based on our ideas and concepts from some of the things we read. If you look at most PDFs, and I just grabbed one, if you guys don't use Zotero, from my Zotero library, I make independent folders, which you can see here, and I keep everything that I'm working on. So I just grabbed a couple PDFs that I kept in my archives just to talk about it. And most PDFs, if you open them up in a viewer, or the actual reader itself, I use Adobe Acrobat Reader DC is one of the ones I use. It will show you, interestingly, just right away, you can click on the descriptions in different sections of the actual research papers that are out there today in the papers. It'll talk about the statement of the problem. And as you progress through your academics, you're going to learn that you're going to be talking a lot about the problem and the purpose of your paper and how, when you write these things, that's what it all comes down to. You're finding something in the literature or what you're reading that is a problem, something that doesn't exist right now, or something you feel is wrong or is lacking in the literature, which creates your purpose for your paper and your research question. And a lot of times they'll have these so you can easily jump to them, or a specific problem it'll say. Then it'll talk about the hypotheses, which will be your research question, which is essentially what you guys are doing today. You're doing little mini researches, and it'll talk through it. But it's a great way to look for references and see how they build different aspects overall of these papers. I wanted to kind of point out some styles so you guys can see what I'm talking about. A lot of times they will do this according to APA and utilize an actual statement and say it to set it off. In this paper here, I'm just pulling anything up in particular, I want you to see how they're writing and see why I'm kind of making comments on papers and talking about it. And if we think about writing as we know nothing, and the ability for our proper writing and the way that really gives it power and interest is for us to look at these papers as like every term we have, we should have what somebody else says and how they describe it. If they're talking about a key word, like right here, and there's abbreviation, you should write after your abbreviation and first reference, always write something out, and then put the abbreviation right afterwards. And you can use it a lot of times if it's common knowledge, AT&T, CNN, these acronyms that are utilized all the time. IT is a big one. Even though we all understand IT, we should write out information technology, parentheses, I capital, T capital, parentheses. Then we can use it on second reference as IT. But when we're writing, you'll look at these sentences. They'll write out what they're talking about, and immediately after they'll put the literature. And this is a reference to the literature. Down below you put the full reference of the bibliography in your reference section, but here it's simply the last name of the author, comma, the year. And if you're doing a series of 2 or more, you separate it with a semicolon, put the next, Rogers 2003. This is good if you're kind of talking about multiple people together that you've read that are on the same mind frame. They have similar ideas. If you're talking about someone independently, you should go according to Emmerich, Peterson, blah, 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 and put the date. If you see that right here in this next kind of sentence, how they're working it, they highlight who they're talking about first. They give us the date, and then they go into exactly what they say. If there's a series of usually 3 or more, 4 or more, you should use a colon and put it here, and then you can label them in this manner. If you're writing so that the sentence is actually at the, you're putting something at the end of it, this is the reference again for a single author. In a lot of cases, you're going to see a lot of these scholars where it's more appropriate, they have a voice because they have the research background to kind of just talk about what the essential core elements are, and they'll do this style of writing. I want everyone to get in a good habit of, when you're talking about this person's work, I want you to set the sentence off with according to, or you can say, you don't need to use first names, remember this is just the last names, Emmerich, Peterson, and Rogers, 77, and quote this. You know, and exactly what they say. Use a quotation. There's nothing wrong with that. It adds power. It says I'm doing my homework. It's telling me exactly what we want to see and what we want to hear. A lot of times people feel that when you're doing this is like, wow, it's not really my work. Well, it is, because you're doing the research, and that's what we're doing now in these papers that you're learning in higher education. It's about actually forming sentences through what other people have said to come to conclusions. I'm going to skip down to the end of theirs, and you can see how in the citation we'll find these actual references that they're talking about at the end. The APA style is a very simplistic style. In the references, it's usually just the last name, comma, initials, and then the date again, the title, where it came from, and you do this in italicized if it's a journal, and then the volumes, and the pages are where you find it if it's inside of a journal. Because a lot of the journals have 200 pages to them, or a book might have 10 chapters and you're reading a chapter in a book. There's a style for each one of them that you can check out and utilize. It's pretty simplistic. But overall, the longer titles and pieces for this don't need to be put into your writing itself. You just simply need to go back up, and let's just pop into anywhere inside of here and write like this. See how they just set it off of who's saying this, and then they start their sentence of what they're supposed to say and what they want to talk about. It's pretty simplistic. It seems a lot of times like we're almost cheating, but we're not. We're using other great scholars' research and writing to form one great idea of ours. But we need to do this because, in honesty, we don't really know that much. These guys have studied for 20, 30 years to where they're getting this power and knowledge so they can start making statements. But when we're using anybody else's work, I really want you guys to get in the great habit of doing this. Set off your sentences by the actual author, the last name, the date, and quote them. If there's something direct that's really powerful, I want you to put that quote mark right inside there and utilize that to make a statement that's saying, hey, I think this guy's the authority. Set it off so we see it, that we know this is exactly what you're talking about, so nobody has any issues. And we use this power to make our statements very clear in everything we're doing. I appreciate everybody's knowledge and everybody sharing their personal knowledge, but a lot of times you got to understand, unfortunately, at this stage of the game in our academic success, we don't have knowledge. We're just learning, so we can never use the word I. I'm sorry. I know that's hard to hear, but I had to hear it from my master's teachers and my first teachers that I had in my bachelor's. And then when I got to my doctorate's level, the hardest thing I learned was the first day of class. They said, you know nothing, so quote everybody. If there was a term like data, I should have what data is right after it, according to. And I had to write who the author was and explain what they thought data was. There's nothing wrong with it. This is great, powerful writing, and it helps eliminate the idea of any use of plagiarism or self-plagiarism. Was when you can write a paper before, and even though it's your paper, you still have to quote yourself because it's a source. Gang, I appreciate everybody's time, and if you see notes throughout the papers that you get from your professors or myself, it says who, or how did you know this, or where did you find this? Just go back and cite it clearly. Just use this same methodology of taking the author's last names, the date that it was published, put it in there, and grab some quote marks and put it around. Even if it's a single word, sometimes look here, there's two. It just adds power and clarity to where you're getting all your meanings. And that's what we're looking for you guys to do. Happy writing, everyone. Get out there and see some sunshine and have a great day. If you have questions, reach out to your faculty members. Talk to them. They love to write. They love this stuff. We're all pretty knowledgeable. And you know where is a great resource as well? The library. Never fear asking a librarian a question. They will do anything they can for you to make you a success, the same as we will. Have a great day, everyone.